How's it going? Welcome back to the channel. My name is James, and today we're going to be doing something that might be just like the worst idea for a video. I don't know yet, but if you caught my getting to know the fantasy reader tag, you would know that I've been watching a lot of Jake Bishop's channel, predominantly for the Guy Gabriel K content, which if I'm being completely honest, I haven't retained a lot of what he has said, which is a good thing because I want to rank all of his books / series without having read any of them. So going just based purely off of their synopsis, their cover art, just however I feel, I guess, based on the title. And then maybe, next year, once I get the chance to read a few of these, maybe it'll be fun to kind of revisit this tier list and see how my predictions lined up. So like I said, this could potentially be a really bad video, but we're gonna treat it like it's not. We're gonna treat it like this is totally 100% a good idea. So a couple rules just right up front. I am ranking them in publication order, at least as far as I could tell. If they're out of publication order and you're a Guy Gabriel K super fan, don't judge this super hard, okay? Because I know literally nothing about this guy's books. Also, I am going to just put entire series together based off of the synopsis of kind of what the overall series is about to try and avoid any potential spoilers in the synopsis of a second book, which I am notorious for having books spoiled for me because I read the synopsis of a second book or something and just kind of had it ruined. So that's why I'm doing what I do. So if you see, like I said, if you're a hardcore K fan and you see two books in a series and maybe the first one was crap but the second one was good, or vice versa, but they're put together, that's why. All right. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how terrible this goes. The first one is the Fiannavar Tapestry, off to a great start. And on Goodreads it says, in the 3 novels that make up the Fiannavar Tapestry, 5 University of Toronto students find themselves transported to a magical land to do battle with the forces of evil. At a Celtic conference, Kimberly, Kevin, Jennifer, Dave, and Paul meet wizard Lauren Silvercloak, returning with him to the magical kingdom of Fiannavar to attend a festival. They soon discover that they are being drawn into the conflict between the dark and the light as Unraveler Rakoff Mogram, love the names so far, breaks free of his mountain prison and threatens the continued existence of Fiannavar. They join mages, elves, dwarves, and the forces of the High King of Brennan to do battle with the Mogram, where Kay's imaginative power as a world builder come into the fore. He stunningly weaves Arthurian legends into the fluid mix of Celtic, Nordic, and Teutonic. Okay. German House of St. Mary in Jerusalem, commonly known as the... Interesting. I didn't know what that was. All right, well, sweet. Creating a grand fantasy that sweeps readers into a heroic struggle that the author makes all the more memorable because of the tributes he pays to past masters. Well, I mean, that definitely sounds interesting. Portal fantasy is not one of my favorite genres, and this sounds like a pretty heavy portal fantasy book series. Let's see here. Well, whenever I couldn't tell what it was, I wasn't super impressed with it. Now that it's a little bigger, I mean, that's kind of some cool old fantasy cover art. I don't know. I'm gonna give this a cautious very good to start. I like the names. I like the idea of the, what was it, Teutonic. Never heard of that before, and so I mean, just immediately having a mix of all of these different cultures and influences coming together. I think that sounds really interesting, and I would be curious to see how he did that. But like I said, portal fantasy is not one of my favorite genres, and so I'm giving it a cautious very good. That maybe this could be, oh my gosh, I need a new chair. Maybe this could be the series that changes my mind. So yeah, cautious very good. Tigana. Okay, so Tigana is one that I have actually already heard of a little bit. A masterful epic of magic, politics, war, and the power of love and hate. From the renowned author of the Fianavar, from this trilogy. And Children of Earth and Sky. Did I get the publication order wrong on these? Maybe. We're gonna roll with it. Tigana is the magical story of a beleaguered land struggling to be free. It is the tale of a people so cursed by the black sorcery of a cruel despot. All these words. Can you believe that I have a booktube channel and I'm struggling this much to read? Oh my gosh. It is the tale of a people so cursed by the black sorcery of a cruel despotic king that even the name of their once beautiful homeland cannot be spoken or remembered. Ooh. But years after the devastation, a handful of courageous men and women embark on a dangerous crusade to overthrow their conquerors and bring back to the dark world the brilliance of a long-lost name, Tigana. Against the magnificently rendered background of a world both sensuous and barbaric, this sweeping epic of a passionate people pursuing their dream is breathtaking in its vision, changing forever the boundaries of fantasy fiction. That is a hard sell. And honestly, that sounds like right up my alley. I like that it's not portal fantasy. I like that it kind of just sounds rooted in like the adventure. I like quest narratives a lot. And so that sounds pretty sick. Also, that's embarrassing. Hang on. Boop. And yeah, I feel like that just based on, the cover art doesn't really do much for me as far as helping me understand what the world is about. It looks like there's like Elvish or something down here. Yeah, Tigana sounds really interesting. So, and I hear, like I said, this is probably one of those books that I actually do hear a decent amount of praise for. So I'm going to throw it, and I don't want to just like rip a masterpiece right off the beginning, right? Shoot, let's do it. I'm optimistic. I'm going to call Tigana a masterpiece. Let's just throw that there and see if anybody rages in the comments over it. Okay, next we have the Lions of Al Rason. The ruling Asherites of Al Rason have come from the desert sands, but over centuries, seduced by the sensuous pleasures of their new land, their stern piety has eroded. The Asherite Empire has splintered into decadent city-states led by warring petty kings. King Almalik of Kartada is on the ascendancy, aided always by his friend and advisor, the notorious Amar Ibn. Man, I love his names simply for the fact that like I can't pronounce them. Like I know that he kind of has a little bit of like Tolkien association, because I think that didn't he help with like the Silmarillion or the Unfinished Tales or something. I don't know if he was an editor or what he was on that. I'll like throw something here-ish to correct that. But like the names are they give me Tolkien vibes, just with like how creative they are. Like you don't really read names like this anywhere. So anyway, aided by the notorious this guy, poet, diplomat, soldier, until a summer afternoon of savage brutality changes their relationship forever. Meanwhile, in the north, the conquered Jadites' most celebrated and feared military leader, Rodrigo Belmont, sick name, driven into exile, leads his mercenary company south. I love mercenary companies. In the dangerous lands of Al Rason, these two men from different worlds meet and serve, for a time, the same master. Sharing their interwoven fate and increasingly torn by her feelings is Jahan, the accomplished court physician, whose own skills play an increasing role as Al Rason is swept into the brink of holy war and beyond. Hauntingly evocative of medieval Spain, The Lions of Al Rason is both brilliant adventure and deeply compelling story of love, divided loyalties, and what happens to men and women when hardening beliefs begin to remake or destroy a world. Okay, actually, I had never heard of this one before. I had heard of Tigana. Tigana was like basically the only GGK book that I had really ever heard of. This sounds awesome. This sounds like politics, mercenary company, a little bit of some romance happening here, these divided loyalties. I hope that this doesn't devolve into like a love triangle, which kind of is what that reads of. But hauntingly evocative of medieval Spain is super sick. And like I said, I love his names. Like I love the names of everything. Man, okay, so where do I put it? Because I already put Tigana in Masterpiece. I can't just dump that in Masterpiece too. Let's throw it in a cautious outstanding. Let's do outstanding. This list is gonna be way too optimistic. I think that's what I'm learning. Oh shoot, did I do one wrong? Oh, I skipped one. Dang it. Okay, well, we'll put that here and we'll go back. Freaking amateur hour. You do one different kind of video and then everything just goes up in smoke. Lions of Al Rason sounds awesome. And it looks like it's pretty well received on Goodreads as well. Although I think most of the books that we had looked at so far, I don't think that this guy has any that are below 4 stars. Ooh, Isabel. Spoilers. What is the one that I missed? A Song for Arbonne? Based on the troubadour culture that rose in Provence during the High Middle Ages, this panoramic, absorbing novel beautifully creates an alternate version of the medieval world. The matriarchal, cultured land of Arbonne is rent by a feud between its two most powerful dukes, the noble troubadour Bertrand de Talaire and Ert de Miraval. We're just gonna have to forgive the names in this video. Over long dead Alice, lover of one, wife of the other, and once heir to the country's throne. To the north lies militaristic Gorhat, whose inhabitants worship the militant god Koranos, and are ruled by corrupt, womanizing King Adamar. His chief advisor, the high priest of Koranos, is determined to eradicate the worship of a female deity whose followers live to the south. Into this cauldron of brewing disaster comes the mysterious Gorhat mercenary Blaze, who takes service with Bertrand and averts an attempt on his life. The revelation of Blaze's lineage and a claim for sanctuary by his sister-in-law sets the stage for a brutal clash between two cultures. Intertwined is the tale of a young woman troubadour whose role suggests the sweep of the drama to come. I don't know about this one. It doesn't sound as like up my alley as the other ones. Alternate version of the medieval world is an interesting idea. I don't know. This might be my first, like, good. We'll slap that in good. Just because it sounds a little, I don't think generic is the right word, but to me it sounds a little confusing. Like, this sounds like a book I'm going to have to take notes on, you know, like to remember who is who. And all right, A Song for Arbonne is going to be our first good book. Okay. Next, Sailing to Sarantium is the first book in the Sarantium mosaic. This came out in 1998. So the last ones were anywhere between 90 to 95 and were all standalone novels. So this is the first book in the Sarantium mosaic series. I think it's just a duology. Yeah. And let's see. Crispin is a master mosaicist, creating beautiful art with colored stones and glass. Summoned to Sarantium by imperial request, he bears a queen's secret mission and a talisman from an alchemist. Once in the fabled city with its taverns and gilded sanctuaries, chariot races and palaces, intrigues and violence, Crispin must find his own source of power in order to survive, and unexpectedly discovers it high on the scaffolding of his own greatest creation. That sounds interesting. I've never really read a book about, like, maybe this sounds stupid, but like a book about an artist, like where an artist is like the main character. I also am curious if Christopher Rocchio is a fan of this book. I don't feel like Crispin is a very common name, you know? So I wonder, it's recommended over here. Sun Eater's recommended over here. You a GGK fan, Rocchio? Yeah, I think you might be. This one sounds like okay. Like, I think I probably will put this one in good. And then just for the sake of the rules of the video, I'm throwing the second one in good too, just so that I don't have to read the synopsis of the second video. And Petrick gave it a 1.5 out of 5. And I'm pretty in line with Petrick a lot of the time. I can't look down there because he's reviewed every freaking book on Goodreads. Like, I gotta stay away from down there. Okay. All right. Sailing to Sarantium is gonna be a good for us in this one. In his eagerly awaited new novel, Guy Gavriel Kay turns his gaze on to the Northlands, brilliantly evoking the Viking, Anglo-Saxon, and Celtic cultures of a turbulent age. There is nothing soft or silken about the North. The lives of men and women are as challenging as the climate and lands in which they dwell. For generations, the Erlings of Vinmark have taken their dragon-proud ships across the sea, raiding the lands of the Singale and those people, leaving fire and death behind. But times change, even in the north, and in a tale woven with consummate artistry, people of all three cultures find the threads of their lives unexpectedly brought together. Björn Thorkelson, love the name. I've been dying to get back to some like John Gwynne, getting back to the Bloodsworn Saga, and that is a very Bloodsworn Saga name. Anyway, Björn Thorkelson, punished for his father's sins, commits an act of vengeance and desperation that brings him face to face across the sea, with a past he's been trying to leave behind. In the Angson lands of King Aldred, the shrewd king, battling inner demons all the while, shores up his defenses with alliances and diplomacy, and with swords and arrows, while his exceptional, unpredictable sons and daughters pursue their own desires when battle comes and darkness falls in the woods. And in the valleys and shrouded hills of Singale, whose voices carry music even as they feud and raid amongst each other, violence and love become deeply interwoven when the dragon ships come, and Alun, another one of those names, another one of those like just crazy to pronounce names. I'll read it in my head and I will have no idea how to say it out loud. Chasing an enemy in the night, glimpses strange lights gleaming above forest pools. Making brilliant use of saga, song, and chronicle, Kay brings to life an unforgettable world balanced on the knife edge of change in the last light of the sun. So I love like the Viking, Anglo-Saxon, Celtic vibe. Two of my first reviews on this channel were Shadow of the Gods and Hunger of the Gods, which are big saga Viking inspired books. And so I love that. I'm getting that a lot of his books are books that you really need to, like, you really have to pay attention to them. You really got to invest in them, which isn't a bad thing. I don't think that I have a knee-jerk reaction to this one, so I'm gonna give it a very good. I think that it could be very good. It could hit for me. Anyway, next is Isabelle. Provence in the south of France is a part of the world that has been and continues to be called a paradise. But one of the lessons that history teaches is that paradise is coveted and fought over. Successive waves of invaders have claimed or tried to claim those vineyards, rivers, olive groves, and hills. In Guy Gabriel Kay's new novel, Isabelle, this duality of exquisite beauty and violent history is explored in a work that marks a departure from Kay's historical fantasies set in various analogues of the past. Isabelle takes place in the world of today, in a modern springtime in and around the celebrated city of Aix-en-Provence, near Marseille. Oh my gosh. This is going to be the worst pronunciation video that I've done so far, and that's saying a lot. I edit out a lot of mispronunciations, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get around it with this one. Marseille. My grandma, who speaks French, is just seething right now. Dangerous mythic figures from the Celtic and Roman conflicts of the past erupt into the present, claiming and changing lives. The protagonist is Ned Mariner, a 15-year-old son of a well-known photographer. Ned has accompanied his father Edward Mariner and a team of assistants to Provence for a 6-week shoot. I don't think that sounds great. The protagonist, just like based on that being all that we get, sounds the least interesting of everybody. I don't know that I would call it portal fantasy, but like urban fantasy. Not even really fantasy, it's kind of just weird fiction, I guess. I'm gonna call it mediocre. I don't think that sounds like my cup of tea at all. The protagonist is literally just the son of a well-known photographer who went on a 6-week shoot, and then these Celtic and Roman figures just pop up. I don't know. This could be the upset for me. This could be the one that needs to be really good. Surprisingly good, I think, for me to regain interest in it. We are well past the halfway mark. Next is Under Heaven. In Under Heaven, Kay tells the story of honor and power, this time in a setting that evokes the dazzling Tang dynasty of 8th century China. In recognition of his service to the Emperor of Kitai, Shantai has been sent a mysterious and dangerous gift. 250 Sardian horses. Wisely, the gift comes with the stipulation that the horses must be claimed in person, otherwise he would probably be dead already. Not the most compelling blurb, but I also like that it doesn't like say too much. You know what I mean? I also am super curious about a like fantasy setting. I don't know if it's necessarily fantasy or if this is just alternate history China, but I really dig Asian inspired fantasy. I'm really excited to start Kin Lu's series that is slipping my mind, the Dandelion Dynasty. Yeah, I'm super curious about that. You've heard me talk about how I'm really interested in reading the Greenbone saga, and so I love the idea of some Asian-inspired fantasy or alternate history. I think that sounds pretty good. I'd be curious to see what kind of story actually develops from it, and so I'm gonna put those at pretty good. I'm gonna put them at very good. Putting both of them there again because of the rules. These darn rules that we made up. Okay, I think we've got 3 more. The best-selling author of the groundbreaking novels Under Heaven and River of Stars, Guy Gabriel Kay, is back with a new book set in a world inspired by the conflicts and dramas of Renaissance Europe. Against this tumultuous backdrop, the lives of men and women unfold on the borderlands, where empires and faiths collide. From the small coastal town of Sinjan, notorious for its pirates, a young woman sets out to find vengeance for her lost family. That same spring, from the wealthy city-state of Saressa, famous for its canals and lagoon, come 2 very different people. A young artist traveling to the dangerous east to paint the Grand Caliph at his request and possibly to do more, and a fiercely intelligent, angry woman posing as a doctor's wife but sent by Saressa as a spy. The trading ship that carries them is commanded by the accomplished younger son of a merchant family, ambivalent about the life he's been born to live, and farther east a boy trains to become a soldier in the elite infantry of the Caliph, to win glory in the war everyone knows is coming. As these lives entwine, their fates and those of many others will hang in the balance, when the Caliph sends out his massive army to take the great fortress that is the gateway to the Western world. He really seems to like to write these multi-sided political fantasy epics, which is interesting because like looking down here, that's only 571 pages. And that seems like a lot of ground to cover in 571 pages. But I mean, you know, I've never read a sentence that this guy has written. And so he might just be masterful in the way that he communicates and uses the page. And so Children of Earth and Sky, the parts of it that sound interesting to me, it's like 50-50, I think. And Renaissance Europe is not necessarily something that I think strikes my interest super well. We'll call it good. In a chamber overlooking the nighttime waterways of a maritime city, a man looks back on his youth and the people who shaped his life. Danio Serra's intelligence won him entry to a renowned school, even though he was only the son of a tailor. He took service at the court of a ruling count and soon learned why that man was known as the Beast. Danio's fate changed the moment he saw and recognized Adria Ripoli as she entered the court's chambers one autumn night, intending to kill. Born to power, Adria had chosen, instead of a life of comfort, one of danger and freedom, which is how she encounters Danio in a perilous time and place. Vivid figures share the unfolding story, among them a healer determined to defy her expected lot, a charming, frivolous son of immense wealth, a powerful religious leader more decadent than devout, and affecting all these lives and many more, 2 larger-than-life mercenary commanders, lifelong adversaries whose rivalry puts a world in the balance. A Brightness Long Ago offers both compelling drama and deeply moving reflections on the nature of memory, the choices we make in life, and the role played by the turning of fortune's wheel. I don't know what it is, but something about mercenary commanders is just like a buzzword for me. It's just like piqued my interest. I'm curious. A Brightness Long Ago sounds interesting. Something that I really love about this is that even his series are not very long. I think he only has 1 trilogy, and then the other series that he has on here are both duologies, but everything else is standalone. So like that makes it really nice. Like I guess if I wanted to read in publication order, I could, but like the commitment level to one of his books is not that deep. You know what I mean? Like it's super nice that he kind of has a name of just writing these standalone novels that are just, you can pick one up whenever you want to. I don't get to do a lot of that because I usually read big, long series, and so that makes it really nice to want to, you know, maybe try and slip a GGK book in once a month or whatever after I've read a few books from the series that I'm reading. I think A Brightness Long Ago sounds like it could be pretty good. Like I said, mercenary companies are just kind of like, You've Got My Attention, and Maritime Cities. I mean, there's just really interesting ideas, I feel like, that he plays with and explores that I don't see a lot of other people doing. So that could be really cool. Last but not least, I think, All the Seas of the World. Returning triumphantly to the brilliantly evoked near-Renaissance world of A Brightness Long Ago and Children of Earth and Sky, international best-selling author Guy Gavriel Kay deploys his signature quarter turn to the fantastic to tell a story of vengeance, power, and love. Wait, are these in the same world? Quarter turn to the fantastic. That literally sounds like the perfect description for what I have read just of the summaries, where it's like very politically driven, very grounded stories, but with just like a little sprinkle of something special on them, you know, like just a little touch of just the fantastic. And I think that that's like whoever wrote that earned their paycheck. It might be him. I don't know who writes these. On a dark night, along a lonely stretch of a coast, a small ship sends 2 people ashore. Their purpose is assassination. They have been hired by 2 of the most dangerous men alive to alter the balance of power in the world. If they succeed, the consequences will affect the destinies of empires and lives, both great and small. One of those arriving at the beach is a woman abducted by corsairs as a child and sold into years of servitude. Having escaped, she is trying to chart her own course and is bent upon revenge. Another is a seafaring merchant who still remembers being exiled as a child with his family from their home for their faith, a moment that never leaves him. In what follows, through a story both intimate and epic, unforgettable characters are immersed in the fierce and deadly struggles that define their time. All the Seas of the World is a page-turning drama that also offers moving reflections on memory, fate, and the random events that can shape our lives in the past and today. That sounds really good, honestly. I'm curious, like, starting by just telling us on a dark night along a lonely stretch of a small coast, a small ship sends 2 people ashore. Like, I'm wondering just what the narrative structure of this book is. In the Hyperion Cantos, that first book, not a lot of real world time passes because you're getting so much of the backstory of all of the characters. I wonder if that's kind of how this works. If, you know, there's kind of like the present narrative of them going to attempt this assassination, these 2 characters going to attempt this assassination, and then you have almost like the flashback narratives of exploring what brought them to that point and why they're doing it in the first place. I think that sounds really compelling. That's just my guess as to how it works. Like, I have no idea. I've never read the book. And so I think it sounds really interesting. I also feel like it's the most straightforward sounding narrative of everything that we've read so far. It sounds like it's the most like to the point, kind of lean, even though it's a little bit, I don't think it's longer than any of the other ones by far. He seems to kind of live in the like 400 to upper 500 page range with all of his books, which, like I said, is kind of like almost the perfect length for these little standalone novels. So yeah, that sounds pretty good. I actually really think that sounds good. I'm gonna throw that with a little cheeky little outstanding to end it. So yeah, there is my list. I really hope that this video actually turns out into something interesting, because I don't know what value there is in making a tier list to books or authors that you've never read before. Maybe this would be fun to do like right before I start a series, and then at the end of reading a series, doing it again and seeing how the lists compare. But yeah, so this is kind of where I ended up, and I am genuinely excited to start. This made me a lot more excited to start reading some of his works. So this is where I kind of landed with today. Yeah, so if you found this video entertaining, be sure to like and subscribe. Tell me in the comments if you've ever read any K and what you thought of his works. I would love to hear what you think of his works and his books. And yeah, drop a recommendation of which ones you think I should read first. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I think that's all I've got. So I'll catch you in the next one.